Good morning. I'm Ergo. I'm going to be 70 years old in 3 weeks. That's right, I'm an old white man, a boomer, and an avid gamer, struggling to become a YouTuber. I don't know why, it just sounds like fun, and I've got the time to do it. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I played my first computer game in 1959. Yep, on that beast right up there that you see me behind the screen, that's a TTY teletype terminal that communicated with a mainframe over the phone line at 10 baud. That was 10 bits a second in those days. And when you wanted to play, you would feed the paper tape, which the holes represented the code, and run the game, play it, and then when you wanted to play it again, you'd feed the tape through again. It was a very simple game, but it was fascinating because it was the first time I and any of my friends had ever seen anything like it. And the first big update they did to this little game, which means he did, the programmer, is he put in a prompt to say play again, so you didn't have to load the paper tape over and over and over. And this is how we communicated with the computer. That's the modem. That's a phone plugged into the modem. And you dial the number, listen for the screeching tone, shove the phone into those rubber pockets, and wait for it to connect. Excuse me. And if you coughed like that when the phone was hooked up, you might interrupt the signal. For those of you who may have never seen a rotary phone, that's it on the right. You dial the numbers by putting your fingers in those holes and turning the dial until you hit the stop. And boy, it sure took a long time for that zero to rotate around that dial. It wasn't very fast. Let me see here. That's what the paper tape looked like, and that's sitting on a pile of punch cards. But I fell in love with gaming the moment I played that first game, and it hasn't changed in 65 years. And I've played on every system. I've owned most of them. Let's see here. think I got my pictures out of order, or I forgot. I owned an original Pong console. I didn't get that picture on here. And that's how we connected it to the TV. You had a cable that plugged it in the back of the Pong console, a cable for power for this little box here, and then these little wires with U-clips on them, which connected to the back of the TV antenna. Now, you need to remember these were black and white TVs, generally with rabbit ear antennas that you had to put tinfoil on to even get decent reception. And the little black switch right here selected between channel 3 and 4 as to where you could display the game. And they did that because in some areas, channel 4 was empty, and in other areas, channel 3 was the empty channel with no broadcast TV. Because there was only 3 channels. There were 13 on the dial, but there were only 3 channels available. The first computer I ever bought was this Texas Instruments TI-99 4A, which I bought for my son because they had some great educational software on there. And we had games like Car Wars and Dragon's Lair, not the one you're thinking of. and Oregon Trail, and a few others. Now, one of the really nice things about this computer is you could get a speech synthesizer for it. So it had a really good learn to read program where it would read my son text and have him find underlined words or find words and underline them that it was saying in the text. It was pretty cool. That's a TRS-80 by Radio Shack. The suckers cost $690, and that was just for what you see here, the monitor and the keyboard. No disk drives, no nothing. You could get programs on cassette tapes, and there's a cassette tape player which didn't come with it. If you deck this out with the two 5 1/4 inch floppy disks on it, it cost about $2,000 by the time you were done. I've also owned an Apple IIe, and this here, an IBM 5150. That's the first PC that IBM produced in 1982, and a dot matrix printer. That is a 5 1/4 inch, 5 megabyte, not gigabytes, megabyte disk drive. Weighed about 9 pounds, cost about $500 for 5 megabytes. But that was a huge, huge upgrade from an 84K floppy disk. So I've lived through a lot in this industry, and I spent 45 years working in the industry as a computer programmer, a data modeler, a data analyst, an IT manager. This is a compact portable computer. This is what you might consider the first laptop. This sucker here, the small one, weighed about 25 pounds. The keyboard was hinged and would plug in and fold up. It had dual disk drive on the side, and it was a color monitor. Yeah, it used green text. That's it, but it was color. It wasn't gray. So those were some pretty interesting times. I saw Star Wars on a big outdoor movie screen. And a lot of you might go, big deal. We've all seen Star Wars. But for us, back in the day, in what was it, 1977, no one had seen anything like that before. It was all brand new. It was so exciting. And the same can be said for video games. I've owned Xboxes, PlayStations, Sega, Nintendos. I've played on every single one of them, and I've owned single one of them, most of them. And one of the things that, I never really understand or understood is what they call the console wars. Oh my God, this one's better than that one, and that one's better than this one. And I've had a lot of friends who were game developers, and their opinion was, on the top end, the differences are so little, it doesn't really make a difference. And the reason to buy a console isn't because you think it's got great features or it looks good or my buddies have them. It's to play the games you want. What good is a console if you can't play the games that you want? I went with the Xbox because I wanted to play Halo. My friends, some of them went with PlayStation so they could play Final Fantasy, and that's great. I'm just not a Final Fantasy fan. Probably going to get hate mail over that. But the idea is gaming should be fun. What do you care how anybody else enjoys it? I don't. Heck, I've got one of these. Let me get it out here. I've got one of these little mini Nintendo systems that they're making now. It's got 800 of the old 8-bit games on it. Why would anyone want to play 8-bit games when we've got 4K games? Because they were fun and they were enjoyable. And if I want to play them, I'm going to play them. And I'm too old to really have any F's left to give on what you think about how or when I play games. My problems with games is I've never been really, really good at them. But I've always enjoyed doing it. So, what I'd like to do with this channel, I guess, is well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play games. I'm going to play the games I want. I'm going to have fun playing the games. I would love to share that fun with you and take in the wonder of what they're able to accomplish today. We take so much for granted. We look at a game that somebody spent years working on, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, and the community bitches about it. All right? Bitch about the price because that gets ridiculous. Bitch about the game if it just doesn't work. But don't bitch about it because of the story or that you don't like the story. There's lots of games where I don't like the story. I don't bitch about them, I just don't play them. It gets really depressing to hear. The other thing is women and gaming. Girls can't play games. Women shouldn't be playing games. Who cares? I've been playing games for years, especially RPG tabletop games, and the women I've played with are some of the best players that I've enjoyed playing with. They don't usually get their egos involved. They have great imagination, and I find them just a pleasure to be around. So I just don't understand all the animosity that comes out over something that we should love. Console wars. Who cares? If your buddy likes a PlayStation and you like the Xbox, and even if he's not your buddies, what difference does it make to you? So let's have fun out there. Let's enjoy the wonder. I lived through watching a man walk on the moon from a TV set up around our swimming pool in the backyard. I was awestruck. The possibilities out there are endless, and we're finally starting to see a change for my greatest gripe in the gaming industry, and that was console exclusives. I've always thought it was ridiculous to have a game only exclusively on one console for the sole purpose of that console manufacturer making a money grab. Now, with the cloud and PCs and phones, we're starting to see everything going cross platform. And I imagine in probably the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see the demise of specific console exclusive, or they'll only be exclusive for a little while. Well, that's my rant. I hope you got something from it. I did. I feel a little bit better. They say therapy is good for the soul. So you have a good day. I'm going to go ahead and play a game. I'm going to be playing Mass Effect 3, which is one of my favorite games. I'm going to be proudly using my Xbox Series X, which is sitting next to my Xbox One. And on a shelf up there is an Xbox 360. And all together, because I have grandsons, I have two 360s, two Xbox One, and my Series X. So you all have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Love the game. Don't hate the gamers. Have a good one.